My name is Will Thompson, and this is The Basketball Court is a Social Place for Anthropology 205. First, the background of why this project is important to me and why I'm choosing it as my research topic. Basketball is one of the most popular sports around the world, as hundreds of millions of people play it. It serves as a way for people to not only exercise but also to maintain social relationships at the same time, and it's very important on this campus as well. Many college age students go out multiple times a week and just play basketball, kind of for the same reasons that I listed above, social relationships and also keeping themselves physically fit. And they go to the COREC, or the Cordova Recreational Center. And I'm among that group of students as well. Since I play there so often, I'm conducting this research to kind of learn more about the place where I spend so much time and also to view it through an anthropological lens at the same time. In my time playing, I've also come to kind of recognize the court as its own social place. And so that's why my research question is, how does the basketball court serve as a social place that imposes its own societal rules upon players? For the method that I used, I used two different methods. I used participant observation and an interview schedule. I play basketball at the COREC roughly 1 to 2 times a week. So it's easy for me to also write down my observations that I had from playing each game. And that kind of involves after I finish a game, I kind of take down while it's fresh in my memory the things that happened and kind of what stood out to me about each game. Maybe it was an interaction that I had with another player, maybe it's an interaction that I watched between two different players. But it was an interaction that I saw and I wanted to observe it and make sure I wrote it down. I also, in between games, would watch other games just to get an outsider's perspective um, about the process. After each game as well, or maybe not each game, but after certain games, I would go and interview people who I had played with and ask them questions. These questions would usually be about their experiences that they had while playing at the CORAC, or maybe just playing basketball in general, and within the scope of the project. Here are the results that I had from my participant observation in general. The majority of games that I played had very few conflicts, so which was good because people, should be there to have fun and keep things light. However, there were a couple of occasions where conflicts did happen on the court. Um, and the things that I have on the right are events that happened during games that I considered to be worth mentioning. In a close game, a player called an over the back foul, which what that is a foul where the player basically jumps over the back of another guy, and it can be kind of dangerous, so that's why it's a foul. But it rarely ever gets called in casual and pickup games. So when this person said that it was a foul and that he should get the ball back, the entire team protested this since it was also the game was very close and it was probably going to decide the game. So because of that, the call eventually got reversed. Another instance that happened related to a foul was that a player on my team had a foul called on him and disputed it because in his eyes, it really was not that much of a foul. But that disagreement with them caused kind of a rift, caused some tension. So both of them played more aggressively for the rest of the game. The player on my team, after the game was all said and done, eventually admitted to it and apologized to the player just to make sure that there was no bad blood at the end of the game. And since, there was no more competition, the game was over, everything kind of got sorted out and it was all fine. Uh, and another time I was playing with four people that I knew, and we needed to add another person to the team just to make sure that there were five people on the team. And the player that we added was not very good. So to make sure that our team won, we did not pass to him as much. And there was also another case where the opposite was true. We had four people and we added another guy, and that guy was really good and we happen to just pass to him more. And that's gonna tie back into the part of the project that I've been working on. Many games had a light amount of trash talking, but nothing was ever too serious. Some people tend to trash talk a lot more than others, especially some of my friends who I play with often. Um, None of the games, thankfully, ever became physical due to tensions between players, which was good. Everything stayed pretty harmless, you know, beyond the trash talking. And in the scope of this project, we have to kind of view the court as a third place. And what is a third place? But it is a social environment that's independent from home or work. This term was created by Ray Oldenburg in A Great Good Place and is usually used to describe open spaces like parks, barbershops, gyms, and libraries. So in this case, the co-rec is a perfect example of it. And what's so significant about third places is that they're often very important to the health and connected connectiveness of a community, as they allow for people to spend time together and kind of create a sense of belonging. Um, and within the scope of this project, how it relates to this project, it also serves as a social place that really enforces its own norms upon those who are in it. And I really wanted for this project to kind of see to what extent that is the case. The correct functions as a third place, and the kind of the significance of that is that while technically it's not a public space to the general public, it is considered a public space to the very large community of students at Purdue University, which kind of qualifies it in my mind as uh, a public space in general for the scope of this project. It's a perfect place for students to go to when they're not in class or in their dorms, which means, it really is a perfect example of a third place. That also means that the co-rec must have its own set of informal rules, maybe even different sections of the co-rec, the weight room versus the basketball court versus the volleyball courts. Informal rules that are ever present, and kind of they impose themselves on the people who are there and kind of shape the culture and the way that people interact with each other. And the goal of this project is to figure out to what extent they impact the people on the court. Now, some of these norms within the court, the ones that I recognized at least, were the concepts of calling next, calling fouls, and shooting for the ball. Calling next, what that means is that games are played 5-on-5, and after a team loses, they have to leave and get back in line, while the next group of five, who is called next, goes up and plays against the winner. So it really follows a winner stays, loser leaves type of order. And I found this system to be very fair in that everybody wants to make sure that everybody else gets a shot at playing while also rewarding the winners at the same time. So no matter how good I was, I would still have to wait my turn in line to go and play. Calling fouls is another one of the social norms on the court. Since there's no referee for these recreational games, these pickup games, um, players have to call their own fouls to kind of self-govern themselves and create kind of a sense of, I guess, negotiated order. Uh, for example, if I accidentally smacked another player on the arm and caused them to drop the ball, they would say, "Oh, that's a foul," and they would get the ball back. This system is, easily abused. Like maybe I didn't actually hit him, and he still called it. But this is, policed by the other team who could then step in and, dispute it and say, "Wait, no, you didn't actually hit him on the arm." uh, if somebody, calls too many or calls fouls incorrectly, which is kind of part of that order that they create within the court. When there is, a real disagreement, let's say something like that did happen, and both teams are kind of at odds and they can't really figure it out. Someone will say shoot for ball, and you know they'll just take a shot, and if they make it, then they get the ball. If they miss it, then our team gets the ball. And, it is a social norm within the court and it's kind of ingrained within the culture of the court. However, it does create kind of a sense of inequality because players who are better will end up shooting the ball more, or will end up shooting the ball more, and they'll end up making more shots, meaning they keep the ball, which I found very interesting. Some other connections to key concepts that I got from this project were stratification, culture, and belonging. With stratification, I found that there was inequality between the more and less talented basketball players. Those who were more talented often got passed to more often and were picked for teams first. I also saw a relation between stratification and masculinity, as those who were taller and more stereotypically masculine were expected to be better than someone who lacked those traits. And that kind of ties into the hierarchy that's created between, the good players who get picked the most often, they take the most shots, and players who end up doing that less just because of the talent gap between them. I saw that happen a lot where you could tell that, wow, this guy is hitting every single shot. He's really good. I'm gonna pass to him a lot, or maybe sometimes the opposite of that's true. I also found the culture on the court, and it was shaped by the norms that came from it being a social place. A great example of that being the behavior of trash talking that suddenly goes away once the game ends. Even though these players don't hold a grudge against each other, the culture of the court allows them to kind of act in such a way where they trash talking is allowed. But that's not something that you would say to someone on the street, but in the context of the basketball court, it's okay. And that was a lot with the people that I played with, where they would make a shot and they'd be like, it's that in your face, or something like that. And there was really no hard feelings behind it. It was just having fun in the context of the game. The third key concept that I wanted to connect to was that of belonging, and that many people who played uh, they came to the court in groups and already knew each other, and it made it, easier for them to connect. And if we had a group of four, all of those four would want to play together all at the same time. But it made it a little bit more difficult for the out group to fit in on the team, and they, found it harder trying to mix in. And it also had an effect of people who really didn't know each other would be able to bond over meeting somebody who was uh, meeting somebody who had a very shared interest in them, and I've seen friendships get created through basketball. People who really didn't know each other that well were able to connect and actually became friends because they played together on the court. Here were the interviews that I conducted, and just so you know, when I start to play the interview, it won't be me speaking. It'll be me in the interview. It'll sound very similar. But these were two people that I interviewed after the game, and I thought they gave very thoughtful and insightful answers that I could kind of draw a conclusion off of. I'm here with a teammate that I played with for a couple of games. What happens when there's a disagreement on the court about a call, and has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, it's pretty varied. There's a lot of disagreements in the call because there's no refs in the rec and everything's self officiated. But typically, it's pretty dependent on how the game's going. Typically, in the beginning of the game, nobody really takes it too serious, and you kind of just respect whatever call somebody makes. It doesn't ever really get bad disagreements until you get later in the game when it starts getting close and everybody wants to win. A lot of times, if it's somewhat close, everybody will typically agree on just like shooting for it. If it's 50-50, a lot of times it's pretty one-sided. Everybody kind of knows what the correct ruling is or what the wrong ruling is. But yeah, it definitely, like, when you kind of mix some like adverse personalities in there, it can get it's kind of where you can get a lot of animosity between two players, and things can kind of start to get a little bit more chippy. It's only time I've ever seen fights in the rec or verbal fights, whether physical, have been off of disagreements and stuff like that.
All right, thank you. So, kind of the conclusion I drew off of that was that everybody initially tries to, maintain their own order at the start of the game by accepting the foul calls that the other team makes. But as the game sort of starts to get closer and a team gets closer to winning, it this negotiated order that they have kind of tends to fall apart, and teams really put everything towards trying to win. And the easiest way to kind of have that happen is to get the ball more and to dispute every single foul call that the other team makes. So that competition kind of starts to overrule and creep into the sense of order on the court, and that's what leads to the disagreements and conflicts on the floor. Here was the second interview with another player that I played with. All right, I'm talking with a teammate that I played with in a couple of games. The first question is, have you ever been insulted or criticized by a player mid-game? And if so, how did you respond?
I feel like I definitely have. I feel like some of those pickup culture definitely become it gets a little chippy sometimes. People are exchanging words back and forth. I definitely think, especially when it's somebody that's like on my level, I feel like I like want to get the ball and like make a statement back if we're talking crazy. You feel?
Yeah, okay, okay. And like after the game, do you usually like make up with them? Is it all good, or is there still some of that chippiness there?
No, I think like for me personally, I feel like after games, like I definitely make an effort to go and make sure that they know it's like it's all love. Like we're just talking. It's all basketball. So it just stays on the court.
The main thing I drew from that was that it really establishes the court as its own social place that's very different from the rest of the it really serves as a third place. It's very different from, home or the dorm. Like things that happen within the court kind of stay within the court. And that includes the kind of competitive nature that people have. Uh, and that kind of supports the claim that the court functions as its own social space. And part of, I guess one of those social norms or one of the societal rules that it imposes is that, you're allowed to be intense on the court, but as soon as the game ends, you should stop. Those tensions have to end with the game. I find that really interesting. I found that the Correct Center operates as a social space with its own norms, and that people within the social space follow said norms to fit in with the rest of the community. Players self-govern themselves each game and create a sense of negotiated order to try and properly play in the absence of a referee. The rules that are created through this self-governing create some level of stratification within the space, as more talented players often benefit from the rules than less talented players. For possible future research, I would also like to conduct this data at either other universities or other types of recreational centers like YMCA's, just anywhere where pickup basketball games are common. Another extension that I might have in this research is to maybe try it with other sports. How might this happen with baseball, with golf, um, even shared workout spaces. I thought this, all of these things could possibly be third places, could be social places, and I would love to possibly conduct some more research there. Thank you.